Don't just live for tomorrow, or just live in yesterday. Just be glad for all you have that's in today.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to My Hero Academia Season 5, Episode 5. So, another episode, and last time we finished off the first of the mock battles exercises between classes A and B. Shinso's team won as part of the Class A team that Shinso was part of. Now, there's multiple other matches, including one where Shinso is in Class B, working with Class B. So I'm wondering, again, if we're going to see all of them or if we're just going to focus at this point on the one with the other one with Shinso and see how he works with the likes of Monoma. It's going to be interesting either way. I don't think there's much else that's going to happen in this episode. I think it's probably going to focus on this continued team exercise and everything. There might be a little bit of other stuff shown with like maybe Endeavor or Hawks or something, but otherwise, like that, this is just where the story's at right now. It's not a very, I guess you would say, noteworthy arc at the moment, outside of the few things that have happened involving, Deku and the Vestiges and everything with Endeavor and Hawks so far. I'm definitely interested, though. Definitely interested to see where this goes, especially since the opening is very heavily focused on the likes of Shinso and Class B. So I don't know, it almost feels like there's going to be more to their joint training than just this specific exercise. Because it just seems like that would be a lot of focus in the opening if it was just this one exercise. Because, again, I don't see this going on for too many more episodes. And definitely not for an entire arc. So there either has to be something more, or the opening is just hiding a lot. Which, I mean, I guess is possible. The second opening for Season 4 didn't really have much of Gentle and La Brava in it. They were shown very briefly silhouetted in it, but that was it. And you, at least I didn't even really notice right away. But yeah, I am definitely excited to see what more we get with this, because there's so much possibility for more exercises between the two classes. And I really do hope Shinso ends up joining the hero course. If he does, I'm kind of still thinking he'll probably end up joining Class B, just because it would, again, as I've said before, it would be very hard to integrate him into Class A at this point. I just feel like it would be just way too hard to bring him in when everybody's already got these deep connections and relationships already have grown. It would just, Shinso's a great character and we love him, but it would be hard to bring him into all of that. Class B, we don't see a lot of. And yeah, there are some characters who we know have connections to each other, but it would be a lot easier to make him work with that. I do want to see him succeed, and I do want to see him join the hero course, but I think that would be the best option for doing so. So we'll see. We'll see. But yeah, in the meantime, I don't really know anything about this episode, even despite getting to it like a week, like not a week, but like half a week late after it aired. I haven't seen anyone talk about it or anything much on Twitter or anything. So luckily, I don't know anything going into this. I'm hoping that we are going to get like all of the class all of the Class A versus Class B matches, at least a little bit of all of them, because I definitely want to see more of Class A's progression, as well as I want to see more of what Class B can do. for obvious reasons. So hopefully we do get to see at least a little bit of all of them. They've done this in the past where like during these like kind of training moments, they've like skimmed a little bit through certain ones that weren't as important or needed to be focused on. They would show a little bit of it to at least still show something, to show these characters progressing, but they would clearly give focus to very specific matchups. So since they've done this before, I could very easily see them doing it again. I could very easily see Horikoshi having just completely, you could say, repeated that. And I don't have an issue with it because the actual exercises themselves are different, and there's still a lot of room for a lot of great creativity and just interesting stuff to be shown that will make it feel like its own separate thing apart from everything else. So yeah, I'm excited to see where this goes, and we're just gonna find out. Why waste any more time? So when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episode. So, that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. It may be unpopular to say, it may be weird to say, but I'll be honest here. While I enjoyed Tokiyami's part in this and everything, and I like his new move, and I like the backstory we got with him working with Hawks and everything, I'm more interested in the Yaoyorozu Kendo rivalry, honestly. That that might sound a little mean to Tokiyami, and it's like I'm not trying to sound that way necessarily, but I am. As you can see from the thumbnail, I used Kendo, and that's kind of the reason why. Um, I'm just more interested in that storyline right now, in that rivalry. Like Tokiyami, like I like Tokiyami, and I like his quirk. I like his usage of it, especially in this episode. Um, but altogether, this kind of new rivalry, he's kind of starting with Koroiro, however you pronounce it. Um, it's kind of an out of nowhere thing because we've seen Koroiro before, but we didn't really know anything about him. Obviously, like we didn't know his quirk or anything. So it's like he almost feels like a new character in terms of actually being given character and given plot relevance, you could say. And it's like that's fine, that's all well and good. Again, I don't dislike him as a character. It's just I'm not as invested in that. And don't get me wrong. I like seeing these characters get focus and attention finally. I like seeing Koroiro and now the Mushroom Girl and all these other characters, Shishida from the last fight. I like seeing them get this attention, be able to show off their quirks, and so we could actually get to liking them. But at the same time, it's like they're not there yet. Kendo, on the other hand, is a character we've seen a lot of. Out of Class B, she's been one of the most consistently shown. And her connection to Yaoyorozu has been notable. As Tetsu put it, her being the big sister of Class B. Like, this is stuff that we've known about, stuff that is like, yeah, we've seen throughout the series. So I'm already invested in that. I'm already invested in Kendo and Yaoyorozu having this friendly rivalry with each other. I love that concept. I love that idea. And so I feel like I'm just more interested in seeing how that comes into play. It seems like both of them are probably, in terms of these teams, the plan makers. Um, it was made very clear by Carrero and the others that Kendo was making the plans and forming the ideas for how they were going to fight Class A. And out of Class A's team here, um, honestly, it would be Yaoyorozu who would be making the plans. Not that the others couldn't help, but Yaoyorozu would definitely be the one really like acting in that role for their team. And that's fine and that's good. And I like seeing that, like seeing how their plans are going to butt heads. Honestly, unlike with the first match we had, which had stakes with Shinso being in the team, this time I'm not as invested in Class A needing to win this one. I would be fine if Class B wins this one. Um, but I want to see both sides give it their all, and I really want to see them do well here. Um, I really want to see the basically battle of the plans from Yaoyorozu and Kendo, and how their thoughts and how their ideas are being used with their teams to come up with the best formulations, basically, in order to properly win. I want to see what Kendo has each member of her team doing. I want to see what Momo has each member of her team doing and how all of that works out. And yeah, that does involve wanting to see what each of these other characters do, especially the new ones who we have not really got to focus on. I want to see more of what Kororo can do. I want to see what this mushroom girl can do. And it's like, but I want to see what they can do from Kendo's plans, what they can do from the perspective of Kendo guiding them, you could say. That it's just what I'm invested in here. It is. Um, so this episode having such a huge focus on Tokiyami, it is fine. And I like Tokiyami, and I'm fine with seeing more of him and finding out what happened on his internship and work study and all that. And it even helped bring some more light, shed some more light into how Hawks works with others. Because we've seen him work with Endeavor, but not work with, like, you know, sidekicks or a student like this. This is an entirely new perspective for us to see. And to see, like, even his reasoning for bringing Tokiyami in, for asking for him specifically, being so frivolous, it really fits his character, like, very much. um, just the fact that, like, a lot of the reason was just because they're both birds. And it's like, what? And then there, like, 50% of the reason was also so he could find out information on the League of Villains and all, just literally using Tokiyami for his own goals that he's been given, his own plans on, infiltrating the League of Villains and everything. Like, that's perfectly within his character, and it's interesting to see as well. But also, I like seeing that he, at the same time, does believe Tokiyami is holding himself back and does believe that he has the ability to take his quirk further. And we see that come to a head using that advice and using the advice to, well, as a bird, fly in order to create a new application of his dark shadow. I love seeing all this stuff. This is great. This is how I want to see these characters evolve and grow. It's just, again, it's not what I'm invested in with the characters we got in this match right now. That's all I'm trying to say about it. It was really cool though. I love the application of using Dark Shadow's natural floating to be able to carry him around and fly in that regard. it's a really interesting idea that I never really considered. And even Deku was like, it's so simple, it's so obvious, we just didn't think of it. It's like, yeah, it kind of is. It is very much one of those things where it's like, yeah, Dark Shadow floats. We know that's how it works, but it's like you never really thought that he could lift Tokiyami up and fly in that regard. It's it's really interesting for sure. Um, and yeah, just like with the last fight, we started it in this episode, though we got a lot more of it than with the first fight when we started it, and we're gonna finish it next episode. Um, I'm really interested to see what more of these again new characters, newly focused on characters would be more accurate. I really am excited to see more of what they can do, but I again really want to see that through the plans that Kendo and Momo put forth. I really do want to see them shine here in this fight. And maybe it's partially just because I do really like their characters. Out of the Class B heroes, honestly, Kendo's my favorite, without question. Like a lot of people would say Tetsu would be their favorite, which fair, but Kendo just has always been my favorite of Class B. I just really love her character. I think she's really funny and nice and just a really likable character. I like her quirk because it reminds me honestly of Miss Marvel. And I Miss Marvel's awesome and I love Miss Marvel, so very much a plus there. And I'm wondering if her quirk is like Miss Marvel's. Because um if it's a similar quirk or even similar enough, then it's more than just making her hands big. And if that ends up being the case, that would be really cool because a lot of people do not understand that Miss Marvel's abilities, Kamala Khan's abilities, aren't just making her body parts like her hands or her even her whole body or whatnot grow or stretch. Her actual ability, her superpower, is shape shifting. Miss Marvel can actually make herself look like someone else. She can actually like shape shift her appearance as an example of what she can do. She can do a lot more than just embiggen, basically. And I'm really curious to know if Kendo's quirk ends up being a very similar type of power to that. Because again, if that is the case, if she does realize those further uses for that kind of ability, it could be really good and make her just that much better. But yeah, she's always been my favorite for Class B, and I really do like Yaoyorozu as well. She's definitely up there for me for Class A. Um, Not my favorite, for sure. My favorites are clearly the likes of Sue and Bakugo for very different reasons. Sue for just being Sue and just being amazing and awesome, and Bakugo because of his development and character growth and the intelligence and strategy even that he shows, stuff like that. But Momo is up there for me. She is up there for me in Class A, and so I do really want to see this friendly rivalry flourish, and I want to see just from what we've seen before with Yaoyorozu, I want to see her confidence come through, and I want to see her really utilize her smarts and her quirk in a very meaningful way. Because we've seen before that she has had confidence issues. And I really want to see her just really stand out here, especially working off of Kendo, who, again, is very much a friend. They are friends, but they're also friendly rivals. And I want to see them work off of each other in a really good way here because they've never been in this kind of situation against each other before. But you know that they both have thought about it. And it's just like that is what interests me here. So yeah, I know a little bit biased for sure. But I do want to see the others work well here. I want to see Aoyama do great here. I want to see Hagakure do well. I want to see all of them use their powers, their quirks, in some really creative and new ways that we haven't seen before. And again, I want to see these other characters in Class B that we really haven't gotten that focus on before really shine here as well. So I'm hoping that with this continued match, we get some really cool stuff because especially with like this mushroom girl, it's like because right now she's just making mushrooms grow on people and all around and everything. I want to see what more she can do with that because there's got to be some more practical implications to that and applications as well. um, there's got to be some interesting things to do with that. And I know I made like a Little Witch Academia reference saying Susie would like this quirk. But it's like mushrooms, interestingly enough, can be used in a lot of ways because like mushrooms can be poisonous for one. So it's like she could use those in some interesting ways, especially if she can sprout them anywhere. Like I could imagine. Plus, if she sprouts enough of them at once, they could probably like cover and just overwhelm an enemy and stuff. It's got some interesting implications, and I want to again see what she can do with them. I want to see if there's more and like how big can she make the mushrooms and stuff because there are in real life some really big fucking mushrooms in the world. So it's like there's a lot I want to see with that, and I like seeing what Koroiro can do with his ability, not only being able to control certain points of darkness if they're able to be moved naturally, um, but also the ability to like kind of just merge with the darkness itself, kind of melt into the shadows and just pop out somewhere else. I love that. That's a cool application of his quirk. So it's like, yeah, I love seeing this other stuff. It's just I do have biases. I won't argue that. I do have biases in terms of characters I just am more invested in. And I want to see them shine a little more, honestly. Just from just personal preference, personal bias. I won't argue against that. And I think most people are like that with these kinds of shows that have such large casts, especially with like a lot of these different characters with a lot of different powers and whatnot. A lot of people are going to have characters they just like and are more invested in seeing more than others. That's just how it's going to be. There's some characters they just aren't as interested in. And for me, there are definitely plenty of characters I'm just not that invested in seeing in action. Like when Deku's team eventually comes up, I'm not going to be that invested in Mineta because I hate Mineta. I admit in the first episode, in the exercise that was in the first episode, I admit he did well. But I still hate him because he is extremely gross and just horrible and not do not like. But I'm just not invested in seeing more of what he's going to do here. I know I'm going to see it, but it's not what interests me about that fight. I'm more interested in everyone else's roles in it, honestly. I just am. And that's how it's going to be, and that's how it would be for a lot of people. Not necessarily specifically with Mineta, although I would hope a lot of people don't like him for the things he does and all. But people are going to have different characters that they just are more invested in and different characters that they're just not that invested in. That's just how it's going to be. So I'm sorry for saying a lot of the same thing over and over, but I'm just trying to explain myself, I guess. Maybe it's my own anxiety over people not understanding my viewpoints on things. I don't know. But tell me in the comments below, what did you think of this episode of My Hero Academia? What did you think of Tokiyami's new usages of his quirk? What do you think about the friendly rivalry between Kendo and Momo? What do you think about Kororo's interesting quirk? As well as the possibilities for this Mushroom Girl? Please let me know your thoughts down below, but no spoilers, as always. I wish to continue to go in as spoiler free as possible. So please, if you've read the manga, if you just know what's going to happen, do not let me know that. No spoilers. But in the meantime, thank you so much for tuning in. And for now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.